The Department of Transportation, or DOT, is responsible for protecting public safety in all areas of transportation in the United States. This includes preventing hazardous material release during accidents. The DOT defines hazardous material as any substance or material that can burn, explode, react violently, or cause injury or harm to people, property, or the environment during transport. Medical waste poses a risk of disease transmission to humans and animals and is classified under Hazard Class 6, Division 6.2. The DOT requires this training to ensure the safe packaging and transportation of medical waste. Initial training is required within 90 days of starting a job involving medical waste and at least every 3 years thereafter. Click on the button to see all 9 DOT hazardous classes. Click Next to continue. Everyone in the medical waste chain must understand and fulfill their responsibilities to ensure safety and compliance. As a medical waste generator, it is your responsibility to protect yourself and others from hazardous waste, dispose of it in appropriate containers, and transport it to an accumulation site for pickup. EH&S develops and implements the Campus Medical Waste Program, including maintenance of the state-level waste generator permit and Campus Medical Waste Management Plan. EH&S acts as a campus liaison with local and state medical waste auditors. EH&S is also the primary conduit to Stericycle, our third-party vendor, which transports, treats, and disposes of our medical waste. Waste handling can be complex. At the most basic level, items can be divided into hazardous and non-hazardous waste streams. Within hazardous waste, there's a hierarchy based on increasing levels of regulation. At the top of the hierarchy is radioactive waste, followed by chemical waste, and finally medical waste. For questions about radioactive waste disposal, please reach out to researchsafety@ucdavis.edu. For hazardous chemical waste disposal, please utilize the Waste-E program. Waste containing more than one type of hazard is called mixed waste. When mixed waste contains a biohazard, first, decontaminate the biological agent if possible and chemically compatible. Then, dispose of it as either chemical or radioactive waste.
What do you think? Drag each example of hazardous waste onto the image of the correct waste stream.
What is medical waste? California defines medical waste in 2 ways. The Cal-OSHA Bloodborne Pathogen Standard focuses on infectious and potentially infectious materials, including human blood or blood components. The California Department of Public Health, or CDPH, Medical Waste Management Act covers waste from diagnostics, treatments, or immunization of humans or animals, or research pertaining to these activities. Production or testing of biologicals, home-generated sharps like insulin needles, and trauma scene waste. To see what is not considered medical waste, click the button at the bottom. Medical waste does not include items such as food processing waste or biotechnology waste that aren't contaminated with infectious substances, blood, or other potentially infectious materials. However, to meet the NIH guidelines requirements, recombinant materials must be destroyed before disposal in the trash. Items containing non-fluid, non-flaking blood such as Band-Aids are not considered medical waste. Sewage waste such as urine, feces, saliva, sputum, sweat, tears, and vomit is not considered medical waste unless it visibly contains blood. Regular household waste, normal veterinary waste, and agricultural waste are not medical waste.
Medical waste is divided into 4 waste streams: biohazard, pathology, trace chemotherapy, and pharmaceutical. Identify and segregate these based on your hazards. Click on each type of medical waste for a short description. You must view each of the 4 waste streams before proceeding. Biohazard waste includes human blood and blood products, infectious agent waste, and contaminated materials. Dispose of biohazard waste in containers labeled with the word biohazard and the biohazard symbol. Biohazard waste is autoclaved and sent to the landfill. Only substances that are safe to autoclave and can be decontaminated by autoclaving should be disposed of in biohazard waste containers. UC Davis contracts the majority of our biohazardous waste treatment out to a vendor. If you are interested in getting your autoclave permitted for terminal inactivation, please click on the Autoclave Permitting tab for more information. Pathology waste includes recognizable human or animal specimens, fixed or unfixed. Animal parts, tissues, and carcasses suspected by the attending veterinarian of being contaminated with infectious agents known to be contagious to humans must be discarded as pathology waste. Return recognizable human body parts or whole tissues to the UC Davis Body Donation Program. Dispose of other specimens in the designated pathology waste containers labeled pathology. Drain liquid fixatives and dispose as hazardous chemical waste before disposing of the solid specimen as pathology waste. Use a trace chemotherapy waste stream to dispose of empty solids or sharps such as IV bags and tubing, syringes, empty culture flasks, or animal bedding that previously contacted chemotherapeutic agents. Label the waste container chemo or chemotherapy waste. If the chemo agent can be scraped or poured out, dispose of it through the hazardous chemical waste stream. The pharmaceutical waste stream is for most prescription or over-the-counter human or veterinary drugs such as analgesics and anesthetics. Dispose of pharmaceutical waste either by returning it to the issuing pharmacy, which is called reverse distribution, or by placing it in a pharmaceutical waste container labeled for incineration or high heat only. Pharmaceutical waste does not include controlled substances, radioactive materials, or hazards covered by the Resource Conservation and Recovery Act, otherwise known as RCRA.
What do you think? Drag each example of medical waste into the image of the correct waste stream.
Each of the 3 forms of waste, solid, liquid, and sharps, requires specific containers and procedures for disposal. Click on each form of waste to review requirements. You must review each category before proceeding.
Solid, non-sharp waste may include culture flask or dishes, used pipette tips or serological pipettes, bench paper, contaminated PPE, and any contaminated materials used to clean up spills. Solid waste does not include liquids or any items that could puncture the waste bag.
Dispose of solid waste only in an appropriate medical waste bag and secondary container. Use 2 bags when disposing of serological pipettes as solid waste. Never remove items from the container, and keep waste in a secured location at all times. Collect waste for no more than 7 consecutive days before transporting it to an accumulation site.
Solid waste containers must be rigid, leak-resistant, and non-porous. Make sure that the word biohazard and the biohazard symbol are visible on all sides and the lid. Containers must be kept tightly lidded when not in use and cleaned when soiled. Keep containers lined with appropriate medical waste bags at all times.
Bags used to collect medical waste in California must be red. Yellow is permitted for collecting trace chemo waste, and white is permitted for pathology waste. Bags must be labeled with the word biohazard and the biohazard symbol. They must also be marked and certified as passing the American Society for Testing Materials D1922 tear resistance and D 1709 impact resistance tests. Keep bags inside a solid-sided container at all times and never store them on the floor or carry them by hand. Fill bags no more than 3/4 full before replacing them, and never put anything in a biohazard bag that you don't intend to be medical waste. Liquid waste includes liquids that contain or could contain infectious agents. Decontaminate liquids using a method appropriate for the agents. Dispose of the decontaminated liquid as hazardous chemical waste through the UC Davis Waste-E program. If bleach is the only chemical present, disinfected liquids can be disposed of down the drain with excess water.
Sharps are items that can pierce the skin, including glass, needles, blades, and wires. Dispose of sharp items immediately after use into a designated sharps container and never in the regular trash.
Sharps containers must be rigid, puncture-resistant, and leak-resistant. They can be any color, but must be labeled with the word biohazard and the biohazard symbol. Sharps containers are single-use only, so they are not lined with bags. Keep Sharps containers upright at all times and never remove items from inside them. Ensure that items never exceed the fill line marked on the container. To repurpose a Sharps container, completely deface or remove original labels. Then, relabel the container to indicate the type of Sharps waste it will contain. Please refer to the Sharps Safety Net Guidelines, Safety Net number 3.
What do you think? These pictures are medical waste examples. Match each brief description of a problem with one of the examples by dragging and dropping the description onto the correct image.
After choosing the correct waste stream and containers for your waste, package it at the generation site and transport it to an accumulation site. Click Next to view instructions on how to properly package and transport your waste, shipping manifest, and use medical waste accumulation sites.
When your waste container is approximately 3/4 full, it's time to take out your waste. Allowing only 3/4 of the bag to be full will give you the ability to perform either of the two approved methods for tying your waste bag. This tie is called an overhand knot. You will begin by gathering the open end of the bag and twisting the ends to form a single tight rope. You will then wrap the twisted end into a circle and tuck the edge into the center of the circle and pull through to form a tight knot. Alternatively, you could tie a goose knot. Like the last knot, you will twist the open end of the bag together to form a single tight rope. You will then fold over the rope in a U shape, similar to the shape of a goose or swan neck, and secure the loop with strong tape or zip ties. Biohazard Sharps containers must be disposed when a single item reaches the fill line. To dispose, securely close the lid and place the Sharps container directly inside and upright in a biohazard waste barrel at the accumulation site. Remember, medical waste must always remain in a secondary container, even when you take waste to the waste accumulation area. This could be your waste bin. Before exiting the room, you must decontaminate your secondary container with an appropriate disinfectant for the biological agents you work with. Now that your secondary container is decontaminated, you can safely transport your waste in public corridors without wearing PPE. You will want to bring PPE with you for the accumulation area. When you arrive to the accumulation area, put on your PPE so that you can safely transfer waste from your secondary container into the appropriate medical waste container in the accumulation area. In this example, the medical waste that we are disposing of is biohazardous waste as opposed to trace chemo, pathology, or pharmaceutical waste. Therefore, we will either use the red 44-gallon barrel or the red 90-gallon barrel.
Shipping manifests are required for transport of all hazardous materials, including medical waste, on public roads. They must be signed and dated by a hazmat-trained employee at the time of departure from our campus. Shipping manifests include a great deal of information such as the type and quantity of waste picked up, as well as the dates that medical waste is collected, transferred, and treated, along with the physical location of the treatment facility. These records must be maintained for 2 years by each accumulation site per the California Medical Waste Management Act. Keep medical waste secured at all times and never leave it alone in public areas. The medical waste accumulation area is a secured location, and only users who are trained and aware of the hazards are allowed inside. At the waste accumulation area, transfer your waste into the vendor barrels provided. Put biohazard bags or sharps containers into either 20 or 44-gallon biohazard barrels labeled biohazard. The pathology waste barrels are also 20 or 44 gallons, but labeled pathology waste or PATH. Transfer trace chemo bags and sharps containers to the 20-gallon yellow barrels labeled trace chemotherapy waste or trace chemo. There are no pharmaceutical waste barrels at the accumulation sites. Just place your pharmaceutical waste container upright on the ground, and the vendor will pick it up from there. When using the accumulation sites, be sure to close the barrels tightly, snapping down both sides securely. Barrels must be kept under 50 pounds. Be courteous of other users by not blocking empty barrels or putting waste in stacked barrels. Contact Biosafety if you notice any problems at the accumulation site or if empty barrels aren't available for your waste. For specific information on medical waste handling, please refer to the Campus Medical Waste Management Plan available through the link at the top of the page.
What do you think? Put the steps for transporting medical waste in the correct chronological order.
This completes UC Davis's Medical Waste Management training. Click one of the sections above to review the material, or click Next to proceed to the quiz. Accumulation sites are established, maintained, and overseen by individual departments. UC Davis EH&S does not manage medical waste accumulation sites. To set up a new medical waste accumulation site, please contact the Biological Safety Office. Of note, all accumulation sites must meet the expectations listed on the medical waste checklist that is available online. Waste containing more than one type of hazard is called mixed waste. When mixed waste contains a biohazard, first, decontaminate the biological agent if possible and chemically compatible. Then, dispose of it as either chemical or radioactive waste.